Okay. Okay, looks like we're good to go. Sorry about that. I was actually muted. It's the microphone disconnected. Okay, looks like we're good to go. Sorry about that. I was actually muted. It's the microphone disconnected. Okay, looks like we're good to go. Sorry about that. I was actually muted. It's the microphone dis. Oh well, that was confusing. Okay, let me just give me a second and fix up some stuff on the back end first, sorry. Okay, looks like we're good to go. Okay, so last Friday, welcome ladies and gentlemen, last Friday we were, I was playing in a CoolUmbrella's tournament with, it's a best of ones from anything before the finals and best of 3 in finals. A very casual fight night event where players just go in and just quickly play some games and have fun. I was playing as one of the participants and got some nice replays as well as some submissions from the later stages of battle where it's current year, and also the norm sent me some replays including the best of 3 in finals. Of course, I won't. These are not live tournaments happening, so I won't be streaming live battles, but I do have some great replays here. Now, the first battle I was playing against Boojalicious, and yeah, I was playing against Boojalicious. He was playing as the Skavens, I was playing as the Wood Elves. Traditionally, this is a very tilted matchup against the Skavens if the Wood Elves go aggressive and rush, because the Skaven boxers simply can't deal with the aggressive Wood Elf infantry, which are great against light armored units. And well, Skavens do have some great artillery options against archers, but well, if you don't have archers, then they have nothing to shoot at anyways. But anyways, now let's get the battle start. Actually, let's go through army builds first. With the Wood Elves here going for a full line of Dryads, they're going definitely for a rush tactic, trying to crunch those clan rats and Skaven slaves in the front line, and at the back a couple Eternal Guards for additional manpower for infantry support, and then a lot of mobility Glade Riders, Wild Riders, a Zolt in the forest, and more Wild Riders. In the front line, a couple Glade Riders as well, using their skirmishing fire, no doubt, to their advantage. Anyways, let's get well, over here we have the Skaven army here with Clan Rat's shields, Clan Rat spears, very standard stuff really, trying to delay enemy advance while the artillery do the damage. There are a couple wolf rats on the side here, one of them the poison, one of them the magic attack armor piercing variant, and a bunch of night runners with slingshots. Same goes for the other side as well. At the back, a lot of red ogres providing more mass and just a bit more fighting power in general. Anyways, that is it's for most of the army builds. Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers, Skaven Slaves, Avalanche Mortars, Deathmaster Snikitch, supported by Ashen Saucer. Now, without any archers on the field, there is not a lot of good targets for the Avalanche Mortars to shoot at, but if they get a hit on cavalry, they can still do some substantial damage, almost wiping out the entire Glade Rider unit in that one single volley right there. So I need to be careful as the Wood Elves not to get the Wild Riders being hit by the Avalanche Mortars, just like here, just pull them back to dodge. While on the right flank here, without any artillery support, I was able to rush over some mobility and start my infantry push, hoping to crunch their fragile Skaven infantry. Also, there's a lot of vegetation here, and the artillery were not able to quite hit my Dryads. Did some minor damage, but a lot of them were blocked by the trees, branches, and whatnot. Over here, 2 Wolf Rats counter-charging, successfully routing my Glade Riders with spears, but then there are the Dryads here. They are great dishing out damage against light armored units, so unfortunately those Dryads will be taking some quite decent damage as well. Plague Monks will be rushing forward to support, but their physical resistance will be entirely ignored by the Dryad's magic attacks, and also Wild Riders with shields are rushing forward, charging into the Wolf Rats, hoping to destroy the Skaven mobility as soon as possible. While over here, the Wild Riders are just circling around on this periphery of the battlefield because they don't want to tangle with the Night Slingers with slingshots, the Night Runners with slingshots. Frontline wise, going quite well for me, honestly. The Dryads are pushing forward, some of the Glade Riders charge into the Plague Monks, hoping to break them as soon as possible. Wild Riders here, nothing to stop them, and they're just running down Wolf Rats all the time. Wild Riders on this side, they will be charging straight into the Night Runners, actually using their shields and physical resistance to tank out some of that overwatching fire and just dish out the pain against the Night Runners due to their frenzied charge. At the same time, Eternal Gods pushing forward. There's not a lot of good target for them other than the Red Ogres, but the Red Ogres are too fast for them to catch. Dryads driving straight into the Avalanche Mortars, hoping to silence the artillery, and the Zotes just pushing in as well. There's not a lot of good units to stop the Zotes. If you throw in the Red Ogres, their anti-large will be quite effective in beating them down, while the Dryads will be free to roam and push towards the backline. All the Skaven's infantry now are in shambles, really. The Red Ogres are a bit slow to react and charging straight into the Wild Riders, being pinned down by the Prey of Anathema, basically neutering their charge, and they will be receiving massive damage from the Wild Riders, just looking at how fast they go down. Over here, Deathmaster Sigil dropped right onto my Glade Lord, but it's not exactly a long-lasting ability, so my Glade Lord, Glade Lady actually, was able to retreat, while I will be sacrificing some Glade Riders trying to surround Deathmaster Snickitch and maybe pull in some Dryads to deal with him. Now over here, the Wild Riders are on a rampage. Nothing really can stop them. There's no Storm Vermin, and that's probably the most effective unit to counter Wild Riders. And the Zotes, without anything to stop them, there's not enough mass in general. And, well, yeah. The Red Ogres being beat down by the Anti-Large. They're free to just charge in using their mass to plow through a bunch of Skavens and just beat down the Avalanche Mortars. Red Ogres will be charging in, hoping to stop my onslaught and pin down the Zotes, doing some nice impact damage overall, but they'll still take some heavy losses at the same time. Snickitch right now not having a good time whatsoever, being surrounded by Dryads and Glade Riders. Not exactly the fight he wants to be in. He's not good at block fights due to the lack of armor and also splash damage. And yeah. Wild Riders charging in straight for the back of these Clan Rats with spears. It's going to be some devastating impact damage, also dealing some nice damage to the Red Ogres as well. But then the Avalanche Mortars have returned from routing, blasting away at some of my units here. Wild Riders receiving an Earthblood from the Zotes, really, because I forgot to bring Earthblood on the Branch Rave. I've been just dumping Mystifying Miasma all over the place because I don't have anything to use my magic on. But the Zotes healing was crucial in keeping some of my units alive, and as a result, the Skaven front line are just crumbling. Now, at the back here, Deathmaster Snickitch, his physical resistance will not be any of use against the Dryads, and taking some massive damage while doing minimal in return, trying desperately to pull himself out of combat. While over here, Red Ogre's returning and trying to help out the Avalanche Mortars, successfully scaring off all those Glade Riders. But at this point, there's nothing really can stop my units here. Deathmaster Sigil got dropped on the Dryads, hoping to hit him hard, but score of shielding and also his innate physical resistance does give him enough resistance to tank damage from the Ashen Sorcerer, while Deathmaster Snickitch got caught up by the Dryads once again. And yeah, with that, the Wood Elves were able to claim victory, and I was able to move on to the next stage of battle. Is this from yesterday tournament, Parallax? Yes. No, actually no. This is not from yesterday. If by yesterday you mean the single build. The single build, I believe, was casted on the BBB's channel, if I remember correctly. This is from CoolUmbrella's Friday tournament. Since there was nobody casting it, so CoolUmbrella gave me a bunch of replays, or told the participants to give me a bunch of replays and let me cast it on stream. I was not able to cast it live because that was like it started at like half one. Yeah, it started at around 1 a.m. half one for me, so I was quite tired, not gonna lie, and I was I was playing. I hope to win, but I also hope to like get defeated by somebody so I can go to sleep. Not gonna lie. Yeah, Cool Umbrella is great. It's definitely cool, as the name suggests. Doomsday, so umbrella. Yeah. Definitely very cool and very umbrella. But yeah, definitely a fun event, and got a really tight replay next to showcase. Anyways, what else? We have the Zotes doing pretty decent damage, beating down a bunch of red ogres and avalanche mortars, not earning back their own value, but the important part is that they brought the earth bloods, where I forgot to bring it on the branch wraith and was healing my units and whatnot. Also the flesh to stone, I don't think I catch any casts in the replay, but I think I used them at some point on some of the wild riders, at least, to just make them a little tankier and suffer less damage than normal. Wild Riders, as always, a very, very good aggressive cavalry. They were actually charged by Wolf Reds afterwards, after they start hacking down the Night Runners, but I totally missed that charge. But somehow one of them actually, I think it's this unit, they actually beat back the Wolf Reds for some reason. I have no idea how they did it despite getting charged, but well, they did it. Probably because their physical resistance did help. Just tanking damage from the poison variant with more weapon strength but less armor piercing. And the armor piercing ones are not that great in general. Okay, anyways, Glade Riders not earning back their value much, but they were just really there to disrupt and shoot at whatever units they can get their hands on. Branch Wraith, well, with only Mystifying Miasma, there's not a lot of good targets to drain. Perhaps the Night Runners, probably the most expensive infantry other than the Plague Monks, really, and yeah. Oh, and Glade Lord is not a fighting lord, but more of like a supporting lord with fighting capacity. She was mostly there to shoot at stuff, and not a lot of good stuff to shoot at, to be fair. The most expensive thing, red ogres, and the avalanche mortars have very heavy armor to tank the damage. So Skaven, Deathmaster Snickage, not a lot of good targets, being pinned down by Glade Riders and Dryads. He just got beaten up by all that magic damage, especially the non-armor piercing Dryads. While the avalanche mortars, as always, a powerful, ridiculously good artillery at killing units in general, just dumpstering anything they get their hands on, but not a lot of expensive targets. Their best bet is to shoot at archers, but knowing that everyone expects Wood Elves to bring archers, I just stopped bringing archers in general, yeah. And as a result, not a lot of good targets. Let's see, Plague Monks, fighting Dryads, not a good trade for them. Ashen Saucer, interesting choice really, but I don't think there's a lot of impactful spells in this game. I think the best spell they have is Brittlebone, but I don't think I see them at all. Red Ogres, a bit slow on the react, and allowed some of my units to get a good charge on them. And they were not able to fight most of the time. This one got routed without getting any kills, and I don't even have any missile to shoot them. Wood Elves, these Wolf Rats would have been great if I brought archers, but again, I don't have archers. Clan Vulcan's Tail Slashers, a probably pretty decent Skaven infantry, but against Dryads, again, not exactly a great trade. Clan Rats, Night Runners, they all got run down by either Dryads or Wild Riders. Okay, so that is it for my first game, and then the next game, since I proceeded into the second stage, there is a very, very close game with its current year. Anyways, let's just drop into the battle and catch up on the chat. Mr. Teufel, hey, nice to see you here. Even if you can't stay around, like, you can just check the archives and whatnot later. Oh, that would be great. That would be great to see you in the Christmas Santa's package, where we'll be just fighting over. It's like fighting for a payload on each side, and whoever's payload got sniped will lose the battle. Other than the normal victory conditions. Of course, if your normal victory conditions is Yeah, if your normal victory conditions are achieved, then you'll still win, but still. It is just another different mix-up of the meta where like sniping a particular unit is more important than actually winning the battle. But anyways, that is the tournament we're hosting next week. Yeah, there's gonna be like prizes like Steam gift card and courtesy to Jan Jangworth, one of the my beloved viewers, a great supporter to the channel. We actually have a free Ogre Kingdom Steam key. If you guys are interested in either using it for yourself or giving it to a friend. Anyways, that's it for the advertising. For now, let's go into the army build here. I kept playing Wood Elves here. Glade Riders with spears, and of course at the back I was testing out Zotes more and more these days. So a couple of Zotes for their armor piercing anti-lodge should be decent against monsters and whatnot. And then a couple Azrai Spears War Dancers in case there are more, say, cavalry or dinosaur that I need to kill. Since I do not have a lot of missiles, only a couple Glade Guards with Starfire Shafts. Frontline Glade Guards with Spears to hold the line, and also in case there's some... yeah, also I don't want to... I'm just getting ready. I think I was trying to get ready for dinosaurs. Anyways, mobility, a couple Glade Riders with Spears hoping to fend off skirmishers. And on the opposing side, the Lizardman, played by its current year. There's a lot of missile pressure here. Chameleon Skinks, a lot of them. And then a bunch of skink cohorts with javelins, and Saurus warriors will be posing off the front line. Legion of Chakwa, great with their missile resistance buff, just there to possibly just tank out damage from the Wood Elf missiles. And then the javelins will be shooting up all my units, so that's why I brought those Eternal Guards, hoping to tank their attack out with those shields. At the back, some furrowed cold ones with 90 armor and armor piercing values. They should be decent in just fending off Wood Elf mobility. Not expecting them to do a lot since they're not exactly the greatest fighter at only 25 attack and defense. And then in the skies, a single unit of Colossodon Hunters in case there are any tree units, I assume. Leading the army, Lord Mazdamundi, right behind the Legion of Chakwa so he can get covered up by the Shield of Chakwa in case he gets sniped. Coming in with a bunch of spells really, Apotheosis, Net of Amentok, and Ruination of Cities, the bound damaging spells, and of course Shield of the Old Ones, an extremely great buffing ability, adding leadership and damage resistance. Anyways, let's get the battle started as my Glade Lord on foot and Branch Wraith will be leading the army, pushing forward. Right at the start, the Chameleon Skinks are opening fire onto my Glade Riders, doing massive damage with their great weapon strength. They have decent armor piercing as well at 3 armor piercing per shot, but overall it's just really the great weapon strength, just great missile strength, just doing damage to the Glade Riders. The Saurus frontline is now pushing, so I'll be pushing up my own Eternal Guards, hoping to hold them back. With their decent melee defense at 44, they should hold for a decent while. Probably not the greatest, but it'll still work. As the Saurus will still beat them down with all those great weapon strength, but then again, should be fine. Anyways, Lord Mazdamundi here activating Shield of the Old Ones as he is pinned down by the Prey of Aneth Rayma, using that damage resistance to counteract the missile resistance debuff, also healing himself back up with Apotheosis. But all those Starfire Shafts does have fire damage, so his healing is being slowed down, making the use of magic less efficient. The Malkov's Mystifying Miasma was draining the health of some furrowed cold ones, and a counter charge from the Zotes were able to beat them down. Colossodon Hunters dropped down, hoping to snipe out my Zotes, which are basically the only monstrous unit, but being surrounded by War Dancers with Azrai Spears and Zotes beating them down, they are just not having a good time, straight up losing a huge chunk of HP and losing one model. At the same time, the Chameleon Skinks are pouring their blow dart fire into my units, doing some decent chip damage, but Earth Blood coming from the Zotes, healing them up, topping up their health, and the Glade Guards are just opening fire at whatever they can get their hands on. Colossal Hunters being a flying unit, they were able to extract themselves and drop onto the Glade Guards, trying to rout them as soon as possible, but I will be responding more with some War Dances. In the front line, Eternal Gods are desperately trying to hold on against all these Saurus, but unfortunately their attack damage is just a bit too great, and I was a bit slow in maneuvering the Glade Riders to deliver those counter charges, and the Eternal Gods here are a bit slow to react as well. But with the Glade Riders counter-charging in the middle, pinning down the Colossal Hunters, Azrai Spears just grinding them down, they are quickly routed, probably even shattered if they are stuck for too long on the ground. Glade Guards were able to get their sights onto Lord Mazdamundi's Shield of Chakra here, mitigating a lot of that damage with the plus 40% damage resistance. Mazdamundi himself also has innate damage resistance against missiles with 25% due to that scaly skin. So overall, a lot of that armor-piercing fire is actually mitigated by all those buffs. Colossal Hunters unfortunately got completely shattered due to all the damage they have taken. Over here, Zolt have taken considerable damage being shot up by the Chameleon Skinks since they do not have the greatest armor at only 60. They do have 25% missile resistance though, so that definitely helps a bit. Now, in the front line, all the Saurus warriors are almost done with my Eternal Gods. And now moving on to some of the Azrai Spears who have taken significant damage due to their low armor. But then Lord Mazamundi here being pinned down by a prey of Anath, stripping off his missile resistance down to 5%, and the Skin Cohort on Scourge are being stopped by the Glade Lord and the Branch Rave. Constant buffs are being dropped, Flesh to Stone here buffing the War Dancers all the way up to 80% physical resistance, while they will be chipping away the health using their armor piercing to their advantage, trying to grind through all these Legion of Chakra, who does have pretty damn decent melee stats for a Saurus. And back here, Chameleon Skinks continue to push away my units. Azrai Spear War Dancers are taking significant damage over the course of the battle, while Glade Guards with Starfire Shaft are just shooting away at the closest armored target, which is the Saurus Warriors. The Azrai Spears are still being quite healthy right now. With 35 attack, 49 defense, they should do decent, although they will themselves will be taking some noticeable damage, having to rely on only physical resistance for their protection. Over here, Zolt are beating down whatever the closest units they can find, hoping to use that fear to their advantage, routing the Skink Cohort, and now moving on to a second Skink with the support from the Eternal God. Legion of Chakra still holding on, fighting against the Eternal God this time, as the Azrai Spears have pulled back, trying to fight off these bunch of Skink Cohorts. Another heal drops down, this time probably from one of the Zolts as well, topping up the health of the Branch Rave and a bunch of Azrai Spears, keeping them up in the fight. While over here, Zolt a little bit mismicroed by me, leaving them for too long on idle as they're being shot up by a bunch of low dots. Branch Rave continuously pushing overall and being a nuisance. There's not a lot of good units for the Saurus to kill them. Only the Saurus Warriors, Saurus Spears maybe, would do decent damage to them, and Mazamundi is extremely low right now, trying to charge in and rout my Eternal Gods, but they do have base leadership of 80, so they will hold on, while the Zolt are very close to threatening Mazdamundi. Skin Cohort receiving a Cold Blood, trying to sustain their leadership so that they will hold on for a little longer, while Chakra Legion will be rushing over to help, but the War Dancers are closely behind them. More Saurus Warrior comes in, hoping to finish off and surround my Glade Lord, but they are not. Glade Lord is swift on her feet, so she will be retreating, while the Saurus Warriors are being drained by the Malkov's mystifying miasma. Since the Branch Rave here unfortunately only brought 2 spells, actually 3, Pendulum, Malkov's, and Earthblood, and I'm not quite sure whether I can get the damage with the Pendulum, since all the units are quite scattered and are moving all over the place. Unable for me to aim decently with the spell. Over here, unfortunately, Zolts are being routed after taking so much damage from missiles and in melee as well, while over here my units have formed a blob. The balance of power is quite even, slightly in my favor due to my Lord being so healthy and Mazamundi being so low, but things can still go either way, and even maybe a bit in my disadvantage, since the Saurus Warriors will be really tough to kill for my current unit composition with mostly anti-large troops. and the Glade Lord, not exactly the greatest melee unit. Now, Zolt, using their mass advantage, they pushed through the Saurus Spears, and going straight after Mazamundi, a bunch of skinks were trying to countercharge them alongside their lord, but unfortunately, they were unable to stop the Zolt. They're being... the skink cohorts were not stopping them, so Mazamundi was actually surrounded by a lot of Zolt. They do not have the greatest mass, as in, for a monster, they're not exactly that great in size, so against a massive Lord Mazamundi, quite a few of them can get a surround onto Lord Mazamundi and dish out pain at the same time. Getting this surround is extremely great for me, since Lord Mazamundi is now taking a lot of armor-piercing anti-large damage, and one Zolt alone is enough to pin down Zlak in his place, allowing all these other Zolts to ignore Master Mundi's melee defenses, dish out the damage from the flank and the side and the back. And another Earthblood comes in, either from the... I think it's from the Branch Rave, since at this point I already used up most of the spells on the Zolt. And yeah, Mazamundi actually got slain after the Glade Lord joined into the battle here. But then again, I still have a lot of infantry to kill, and quite a few of them are just Mighty Saurus, who does have great leadership and great weapon damage. The weapon damage bit is especially crucial here, as the Zolts do not have the greatest armor at only 60, being surrounded also due to their low base value leadership at only 65. They are now routed and will be chased off by the Chameleon Skinks at 48 speed. Should be able to keep up with the Zolt, as they are now down to 54 speed. Unfortunately, I tried to heal them up and get them back, but unfortunately they would not be doing so, and definitely was a misplay on my end. Now for the rest of the units here, there are some mobility, Glade Riders chasing down Legion of Chaqua, Branch Rave chasing off the Skink cohorts, and War Dancers chasing off more Skink cohorts on the side as well. But then the Saurus are catching up with the Glade Lord. I tried to stop them and using some of the Glade Riders to get a rear charge onto the Skink cohorts and whatnot, doing some nice charge damage, but that's about it. Basically all they can do here, Skink cohorts sallying out to face the charge of War Dancers. War Dancers should be able to do decent against Skink cohorts due to the Skink cohorts' low melee stats, but the Saurus Spears are so sticky and still holding on, albeit barely. While my Glade Riders unfortunately has broken off due to an overwhelming force of enemy infantry. Chameleon Skinks are now overwhelming my position with numbers here, so I dropped in some Malkov's Mystifying Miasma, hoping to deal with some of their infantry, while also healing up my own units with a bit of balance of power pullback. But at this point, the balance of power is quite against my favor here, as the Azrai Spears are taking more and more damage from the Saurus with Spears, who are just not willing to give up. Branch Rave intercepting the Skink cohort, but unfortunately unable to rout them, while the Saurus Spears are still fighting on. The War Dancers' HP is dropping lower and lower and lower, while the Chameleon Skinks and more Saurus are just pouring in, surrounding my position. And at this point, no, I don't really have many units left. Chameleon Skinks are still rushing over to help, though seems like the Saurus alone will be able to finish the job on the War Dancers, who are now sustained by yet another Earthblood, hoping to desperately pull back this battle. The balance of power is just still holding on into the middle here, with only 27 unit models left on my side, while the Glade Lord, still being rather healthy, will be fighting to the bitter end. Probably not the bitter dead end, but definitely the bitter routing end. Without any Azrai Spear support, they cannot carry this battle alone against all these mighty Saurus, the defenders of the Old One. And yeah, with that, you can see that the army losses is slowly approaching. The leadership of my leadership is not holding up. And yeah, that's gonna be the victory of its current year, beating me in this best of one, and its current year will proceed to the next stage of the tournament. Aetherian, yes brother, preach the word of the woody Dragonovers. Yes, indeed. They're pretty damn good, honestly. That's why I made a video earlier about them. As you can see here, the Zolts getting over 2,200 gold worth of damage value, beating down the Colossodon Hunters, beating down Lord Mazamundi. Well, Their stats are not the greatest, but in the right situation they can be good. And with all the spells right now that they have access to, the healing, the buffed up healing really, and the physical resistance provided by the Flash to Stone, they can be a pretty powerful force on the battlefield. Now for army performances, Branch Wraith did some decent value with the Mystifying Miasma and whatnot, fighting through a bunch of infantry, and yeah, did okay I guess. One of the Zotes got routed early, being shot up by a lot of Chameleon Skinks who got amazing value, a very, very cost-efficient skirmishing infantry. War Dancers not quite earning back their value as they were forced to fight against Skink cohorts and Saurus warriors. None of them are good at fighting. If I brought the melee dual-wielding sword variant, maybe they will do much better. But unfortunately over here, they just doesn't seem to earn back their value without monsters to kill. As for the Starfire Shaft, almost 2,000 gold. That's 3 times their own cost. That's good. That's really damn good. The other also earning over 1,000 gold, just shooting down Lord Mazamundi and the Colossodon Hunters really. Glade Riders not doing much over here, and Eternal Gods got beaten down heavily by all those Saurus infantry. While the Lizardman here, Lord Mazdamundi not having a lot of good engagements. Either they have to fight armor-piercing infantry that are also anti-large, or armor-piercing anti-large monsters, and also getting shot up by the Glade Gods. Colossodon Hunters being hit by a whole bunch of anti-large attacks, including Azrai Spears and the Zolt, and then getting shot up by the Glade Gods with Starfire Shaft. Not a good time for them whatsoever. But of course, the Chameleon Skinks, as I said, great skirmishing infantry. Feral Cold Ones, not a lot of damage as well. Just not a good mobility unit overall, really. And Skink cohorts with Javis. One of them earned some pretty good value. The others, actually, a lot of their javelins are very cost efficient against the light armored Wood Elf units. And let's see. Legion of Chakwa is solid melee infantry, and Saurus Spears beating down all my units, including monsters and infantry alike. Saurus regular ones with shields also earn back their value. Really, Saurus carrying this game. And it's current year, or here in this battle, the name going by the Duncan Maballs. Yeah. Succeeded in carrying the game with Saurus, and not the expensive Lord Mazamundi and his dinosaur Slack. Okay, so that's the second battle, and we have a few more. Now over here we have a battle between CoolUmbrella and its current year. Now, this battle, Greenskin versus the High Elves with Double Moon Dragon. A very interesting army composition, really, with a lot of squigs. I wouldn't expect squigs to be seen in the battle, really. Okay, let's see. I mean, squigs recently got a massive price reduction, and they're better now. But I don't know. It's more like Greenskin is in a pretty awkward spot right now due to the lack of updates to the roster and whatnot. Let's see the army builds. Goblins forming the front line for the Greenskin army, leading the army a Goblin Great Shaman with the Lava Spider, River Troll Hag, and also a Goblin Big Boss as supporting elements. At the back, a whole bunch of Squig Herds, readying for that anti-infantry armor piercing to run down archers and whatnot. Mobility-wise, Forest Goblins, Spider Riders, Orc Borbor Big Guns, pretty much the same over on the other side, except there's also the Broken Tusks mob. Now, yep, that's it for the... Also, oh wait, actually, okay, there's a single Hammer of Gorkir Goblin Rob Lobber Regiment of Renown with the blinded effect, lowering enemy melee stats. Okay, yeah, minus 24 attack, 24 defense. Now for the High Elf army, Double Moon Dragon supported by Ilario the Radiant. You would expect this against vampires or anything, but somehow this happens in a Greenskin battle. Not a bad choice, really, since they do have Terror and Greenskins are prone to that kind of routing. And also there's a lot of cavalry, a lot of cavalry. 11 Reaver Archers, 4 of them in fact supported by Fireborn. Infantry department is extremely small, with the Sylvan Guard protected by the Science of Mathlin because of their aura of protection, providing 10% more of damage resistance, and combined with Alario's Shield Stone of Isha. Where is it? Yep, this one. Shield Stone of Isha, that's like 20% of resistance. Combined with the heavy armor on the Sylvan Guard, it will be quite difficult for the Greenskins to break through with an army of goblins. Anyways, let's get the battle started, as the Hammer of Gork should be firing at these spears. They should do well against the armored Sylvan Guards and getting some decent value, but at the same time, Illyrian Reaver Archers are beginning to skirmish. Not shooting at the greatest unit really, at the goblins. Probably a waste of missiles really. Shooting at the Squig Herd isn't exactly great either. They have low armor, sure, but they're also dirt cheap. Maybe it's better to just shoot at the Goblin Spider Riders or even the Orc Boar Boys. Oh, okay. Did not expect the Hammer of Gork to open fire at the Illyrian Reaver Archers and just push them away, but I guess that's what's happening. Anyways, personally, I think it would be better to just shoot at the Sylvan Guard and eliminate the stronghold of infantry, or even, say, Fireborn, who are now charging straight into the Forest Goblin Spider Riders and will do short work of them, and while the Moondragon here dropping down into the Goblins, taking minimal damage in return, but a counter charge from the Goblin Big Boss, the Goblin Great Shaman, and the Giant River Trollhack will be doing some minor damage to them. Over here, Illyrian Reaver Archers taking substantial damage from the chase of the Forest Goblin Spider Riders, but they need to pull back as the Dragon is dropping in. Anti-Lodge Sylvan Guards are here to drag them down. A second Dragon charging into their rear, terror routing all these Forest Goblin Spider Riders. At the same time, Goblins and Squigs are trying to overwhelm the high elf position here. Fireborn desperately trying to hold back the green tide. They are now taking substantial damage from the armor piercing of the Squigs and possibly the Broken Tusk Mob, and also possibly the nope, definitely not the Hammer of Gork, who is still shooting at this blob of cavalry. Sylvan Guard are now screening away and hoping to save that Moondragon, and they did, pinning down all these greenskin characters, while some of the Squig Herds are now standing idle, not quite activating them to rush down the high elf position. Definitely would have been better if a rear charge of some sort can be organized into the backs of the Science of Mathlin and the Sylvan Guard, but I guess this is not happening right now, while the Moondragon will be circling around the battlefield, dropping in possibly okay, I said possibly, but before I can say what is possibly happening, they dropped into the Goblin Shaman's rear. There's some nice armor piercing damage, and also since the Goblin Shaman does not have any healing, he will be taking, like, every bit of that loss will be permanent. Now the Orc Boar Boy Biggins are charging in, hoping to screen away the dragons for the Goblin Great Shaman, and the rest of the greenskin units are actually pushing away the Illyrian Reaver Archer Tide. This is actually a very good use of mobility here, just chasing down the Illyrian Reaver Archers, even if they got shot up in the process, being kited. The missile block chance and also their low value means that the missiles shooting at them will not be an efficient use. Ilario dropping those signature healing, fast protection, upping the melee defense and armor on the dragon, keeping those Moondragon in the fight, especially now that there are more and more armor piercing anti-large units dropping in. Fireborn unfortunately being blocked off by all these Orc Boar Boy Biggins. They are not able to enter the area of effect from the Star of Avalon and will not be enjoying the healing, slowly being dragged down by all of these Orc Boar Boy Biggins. Although they are not exactly the greatest fighting force, as one of them is now routed, probably terror routed by the Moondragon. A spam of Spirit Leech is underway, trying to finish off Alario or at least pressure her. But a Moondragon is closely nearby, defending their Leash Lord. More spells drop in, fast protection, protecting Alario herself. Gorko Fixit trying to slow down the move of the Moon Dragon, but still the Moon Dragon was able to push through and emerge into the skies. Balance of power is still fairly even here since the dragons are still so very healthy, while the greenskin forces have taken quite some noticeable damage throughout the combat of attrition. Now, the Science of Mathlin has been terrified by the presence of something. Probably the Goblin Great Shaman? Yeah, probably that. But now their leadership has stabilized and will continue to fight yet again. Same goes for the Silverin Guard, as they will be holding to the bitter end, while the goblins trying to desperately to pin them down, allowing rear charges and flank charges from the armor-piercing units, say the Squigs and Orc Boar Boy Biggins. But it seems that the Orc Boar Boy Biggins are no longer in fighting shape due to themselves taking quite a lot of anti-large damage in the process. Alario now being routed by the combination of Goblin Great Shaman and Spirit Leech from the River Troll Hack. She'll be flying back into the skies, and unfortunately the Greenskins do not have any means to catch up with them. Over here there's a single Silverin Guard being isolated and chased down by the goblins, and Wood Elf infantry formation is now slowly losing steam, being attrition down by a lot of units. Somehow the Fireborn is still here. They have taken significant damage in earlier stages of battle, but with their physical resistance, heavy armor, and impressive leadership, melee stats as well, they simply just held on. Though there's another, they are now terrified or routed even by the Great Goblin Shaman. They themselves suffering a lot of debuffs, including the blinded effect from the Hammer of Gark. Moon Dragon drops down once again, trying to rout off all these goblins' infantry, and will be receiving yet another heal, a Star of Avalorn again. Including Alario herself will be enjoying all that healing, keeping their hit points high while in this kind of surrounding blob fight. But unfortunately, these Moon Dragons have moved out of the area of effect, so they would not be enjoying the healing. Earthblood will be dropping in as a replacement, hoping to sustain all the high elf units in their balance of power is still fairly even, with all that healing coming in, aiding the high elf unit. As the Goblin Great Shaman is now running quite low on HP, and the Moon Dragons are still very, very damn healthy, almost at full health. There's just no good answers from the Greenskins against them. Their best bet is probably just to finish off Alario the Radiant and even shatter them successfully, so leaving everything on the backs of the Moon Dragon. But at this point, most of the Greenskin units are low on HP and leadership, and would actually be an issue if they can just, whether they can fight through all these Moon Dragons' HP. But nonetheless, they will still try to do so, as they are now surrounding the Moon Dragon, who are unable to psycho charge or anything. Even the Goblin Big Boss is now in the fray, but oof, the blinded effect applying to friendly units, definitely not a good call here. Yeah, so they'll be switching their targets onto the Silverin Guard instead. But with the two Moon Dragons present over here, all these Greenskin leadership are looking quite wobbly in general. One of the Moon Dragons slowly dropping its leadership on the verge of routing, and finally routed, but a second Moon Dragon is still there to fight. And this guy has over 7,700 HP, 136 kills, and over 2,100 gold value, 2 chevrons up. So a little bit extra leadership and melee stats, and will be successfully breaking the Goblin Shaman, and we expect them to not come back. Now another Spirit Leech dropped onto the Moon Dragon here, but not sure whether it's worth it. Perhaps it's better to just drop it on the other Moon Dragon, but you want to have the Moon Dragon constantly on the route, so dropping its leadership is definitely not a bad call. But at the same time, the Great Goblin Shaman has been destroyed by the Moon Dragon, the pursuing Moon Dragon, and now it will be dropping onto the Goblin Big Boss. The Goblin Big Boss not having impressive leadership overall, so it will get destroyed by that charge bonus. The second Moon Dragon actually came back from rout, and the giant River Troll Hag is now surrounded by everything on the battlefield. Even the Fireborn is still holding on, while the Moon Dragon dropping in, routing the giant River Troll Hag, and that will be the end of the Greenskin forces, as they are now approaching ever closer to army losses. Okay, so now let's have a look at the army performances. Broken Tusk mobs and all these Orc Boar Boy Biggins. Really not the greatest unit in Immortal Empires. They have never been a great unit, honestly, even in game back to all the way in game 1. Their mediocre combat stats, mediocre leadership, all of that makes them not a great unit. They're more of like a medium cavalry, if anything, since they do not have the greatest armor. And so they suffer quite a bit from missile fire as well. Anyways, army performances. Forest Goblin Spider Riders, they actually, some of them managed to earn back their value, but not a good targets for them to charge, mostly pressuring away the Elarian Reaver Archers. But the fact that the 2 Moon Dragons are there to fight all the time means that they would just get simply terror routed. Same goes for the Goblin Big Boss. Did some good damage against Ilario, the Radiant, and backstabbing the Moon Dragons, but that's about it for him. While the Goblin Great Shaman, 2,500 gold value, it probably needs some Vindictive Glare to snipe out certain units, and just shoot at units in general, really. Since they did not have any good, methods to snipe out to counteract the High Elf Dragon. Unfortunately, goblins, they are goblins overall. Wait, what? They actually earned back most, if not all, of their value. Interesting. I guess the long grind really helps them out in this scenario. River Troll Hack, great armor piercing damage against dragons and Ilario, and maybe even fighting through the Sylvan Guards and Fireborn and whatnot. But most of the value, I assume, came from the Spirit Leeches, draining the health of both the Moon Dragon and Ilario herself. While the High Elves here, we have Fireborn, 1,369 gold. Very nice. Not earning back its own value, being surrounded by armor-piercing anti-large options overall, but they actually held on till the end, and that's the thought that counts. Ilarian Reaver Archers being pressured by the greenskin, mobility, not a great call, really. Unfortunately, they're never a good trade against the cheaper greenskin mobility and skirmishing forces. Scions of Mathlin and the Sylvan Guard. Damn, the Sylvan Guard, one of them got some ridiculous value. Probably get to poke at the Goblin Great Shaman on the Spider, while the other one got surrounded and overwhelmed by a bunch of armor piercing and just numbers of Green Tide in general. As for the Moon Dragon, both of them got some pretty good value and a lot of kills with all the breath attacks and just mostly dropping and charging, dive bombing units overall, terror routing them, rear charging them, especially the Goblin Great Shaman, Ilarian Reaver Archers. Yeah. Oh wait, we've talked about them before. So yeah, that's basically it for the battle between CoolUmbrella and Duncan Mabols, aka its current year. I can't believe you're making me say that, but yeah, I have to read out the name. Oh well. Anyways, next battle, which will be the finals between CoolUmbrella. No, not CoolUmbrella. No. Between Lenorm or Silver Crested Cockatoo. Okay. Well, CA and their censorship. Anyways, I have no idea what the four letters are, but DBD Silver Crested Beep Batu. I don't even know what I'm doing here, but yeah. Anyways, aka Lenorm versus Duncan Mabols, aka its current year. So the first battle, Lenorm is going for Dark Elves and his current year, being the true Slaanesh champion he is, or a big fan of Hellebrand. Of course, he's gonna go for Slaanesh. And army composition wise, we have Malekith leading a bunch of Dread Spears, a couple Colt 1 Chariots. No, these are Dread Knights. I think these are Dread Knights. And a couple Sisters of Slaughter. Interesting. But probably because of their great melee stats and just great melee stats in general, really. 40 attack, 58 melee defense. We haven't actually seen them that much in... Yeah, we haven't seen them that much in Immortal Empires in any replays recently, but, well, guess this is a very nice flavored combat overall. Just that it's Malekith leading the army, not Hellebrand or Morathi. But anyways, the rest of the army, yep, Code 1 Dread Knight, since they do have quite a special profile picture for their own unit card. Yeah, that is what it is. Dark Riders with shields, and of course the staple stuff, Scourge Runner chariots. Every single battle with the Dark Elves, you see these guys roaming around, shooting up all your large targets. Seraphon with Malekith on it. We have Gaze of Malice, Soul Stealer. Really, all you need is Soul Stealer, and that should be fine. Especially it ignores all those physical resistance on the Slaanesh unit. Now, there's also one single Hellebrand, providing some poison anti-large, just to hold back all this Slaanesh rush. Now for the Slaanesh units led by its current year and with Azazel on the field, coming in with a bunch of spells: Acquiescence, Lash of Slaanesh, and Daemon Blade for that extra damage buff. Temptator here for melee damage reflection, but more importantly the damage resistance. And let's see what else. Yep, pretty standard stuff right there. All the these are all like the passives anyways. Pavane of Slaanesh, the rampaging spell that can do direct damage as well. Pretty decent stuff. And that's it for the Lord Loadout on Azazel. The army-wise, we have a lot of Devoted Marauders here, Devoted Regular Marauders with their anti-infantry bonus, and then we have the Devoted Marauders with Spears, who does have anti-large. At the back, a sturdier backbone of the Mirror Guard, impressive melee stats really, 45 attack, 54 defense, 100 armor, and some silver shields. On the flanks of these Mirror Guards, we have a couple Slaanesh spawns, providing a bit of a monstrous presence in case they need to pin down monsters and whatnot, and also more Devoted Marauders of Slaanesh with Spears. Hell's Riders of Slaanesh for their great cost-efficient anti-large charge bonus as well, and then Eternal Entourage and Elite Heartseekers of Slaanesh. Great, impressive melee stats really, and armor piercing. Should do fine against Code 1 Dread Knight if they get a charge. In the skies, a couple of Chaos Furies to disrupt possible missile play from the Dark Elf army, more Hellstriders, and that's it for the army builds. Anyways, let's get the battle started here, as both armies are really just going for a rushing forward approach. The Scourge Runners will be responsible for shooting up the monsters, aka the spawns of Slaanesh over here, and Azazel will probably try to snipe out Malekith, at least pressure him, and using his great dueling stats to his advantage. Now the Scourge Runners have opened fire, chipping away a lot of health from the spawns of Slaanesh. Acquiescence is dropped onto the Scourge Runners, lowering their speed and melee defense, but I think this is too early for them to drop the spell from Slaanesh's side, since there's nothing to catch these Scourge Runners, and for Slaanesh to capitalize on the spells. And so I would say the spell is kind of wasted. As for the front line, Slaanesh should do just fine against the Dark Elves, since the anti-infantry bonus is now plowing straight through all these Dread Spears with the support of the spawns. And on the left flank, somehow Devoted Marauders are actually surrounded by the faster Sisters of Slaughter. With 44 speed, they just wrapped around and destroying all these Devoted Marauders. Hell's Riders, they are now rushing over trying to help out this fight, where the Furies drop onto the Code 1 Dread Knights, trying to destroy the Furies, who are now destroying the Furies, and then the Slaanesh Hell's Riders are quickly trying to catch up and pin them down, but unfortunately the Furies cannot hold long enough, allowing most of the Code 1 Dread Knights to escape, while the Slaanesh units are trying to pick them apart. And the frontline Sisters of Slaughter is just destroying all kinds of Slaanesh infantry here. All these Marauders taking substantial damage only thanks to the Chaos Spawns over here, where the Slaanesh was Slaanesh taking an advantage in this engagement. Otherwise they would have get destroyed. And also a very timely activation of the murderous prowess, buffing all these Dark Elf units with that melee attack and extra weapon damage, and more importantly a bit of an extra leadership, keeping them in the fight a little longer. Over here, Eternal Entourage charged into some of the Cold One Dread Knights, but they are also pinned down, allowing Dark Riders, which I totally missed, probably hiding in the forest, to get a good charge behind them or something, and they will be quickly destroyed in combat as well. Azazel here tried to fight and tangle with Malekith, but definitely got his ass handed to him. And Malekith will be dropping down, trying to finish him once and for all, while the rest of the Dark Elf infantry are actually crumbled to the might of the Slaanesh infantry. Where are the Sisters of Slaughter? Well, they are quite a glass cannon unit, so one of the Sisters of Slaughter finally got destroyed, but the others still have half health, more than that actually, rushing in to help, and their melee stats should do just fine in destroying all these Eternal Entourage, who doesn't have the greatest armor to mitigate all these damage. Also, Scourge Runners are here shooting at the closest large target. Azazel dropping in hoping to snipe Malekith, who is now out of position, cannot be supported by any close by Dark Elf units, but a nice Soul Stealer, draining the health of both these Eternal Entourage, who doesn't have the most HP left right now, and also Azazel, forcing them to back off from Malekith as they cannot get into a nasty melee fight like that. Now over here, spawns of Slaanesh are still rampaging over the Dark Elf line, since there's not a lot of good units to shut them down for now. As the Scourge Runners are backing away, they will be continuously shooting away at the spawns, but some of the shots went into the Devoted Marauders instead, so definitely a waste of ammo. Sisters of Slaughter now getting almost 700 gold value, and now are grinding through the Mirror Guard as well, but due to their low armor, they will be taking substantial damage in the process, and will not be holding for too long in this kind of brutal melee grind. Now over here, Malekith is being hit by a Fascination, but unfortunately his HP is not low enough for the Rampage to kick in, while the Dark Elf units are just running down all these routing Slaanesh Marauders with the superior mobility left on the field. Dark Riders, Cold One Dread Knights. There are some Devoted Marauders with spears holding back the Dread Spears, but they themselves will probably get picked apart and isolated soon. In the skies, Azazel is dueling Malekith. The fight is going decently for now, but he is also exposed to a lot of counter fire from the Scourge Runners, though they are now switching their targets onto the spawns of Chaos, spawns of Slaanesh. So they'll be quickly backing off, allowing other units like the Dark Riders and the Cold One Dread Knights to screen out the Slaanesh monsters, while Malekith himself will be backing off as well. At this point, the balance of power is in the favor of the Dark Elf side. With so much infantry presence, Malekith still having quite a bit of health left, and Azazel being so weak. A Breath of Attack dropped into the Devoted Marauders of Slaanesh, but unfortunately also doing a lot of friendly fire onto the Hellebronite. The Mirror Guard are holding their position as they wait for the dueling in the sky to come out with a result. Azazel got some nice damage into Malekith and now will be quickly retreating away. Not sure if it is a mistake or a correct decision here, but this does leave Azazel open to fire from a bunch of Scourge Runners. He himself is being pursued by Malekith as well, who is activating Stand Your Ground to buff his melee defense, making Azazel, daring Azazel to fight him, but Azazel will not be taking the bait, backing up so that he'll be dropping other spell support and just trying to snipe out Malekith in general. Now a Fascination is dropped onto Malekith here, draining his HP, while Azazel drops in, hoping to snipe out Malekith, but Malekith does have a sneaky Soul Stealer, draining the health of Azazel, and when Azazel drops into this blob, the other units like the Chaos Spawns and the Mirror Guard are also affected. At this point, as a result, Azazel was destroyed, leaving only Malekith and Dark Elf units fighting, and of course the Unbreakable Spawns of Slaanesh will be fighting to their absolute end, but at this point might as well just throw the game, as there's no hope for the Slaanesh army to turn it around. Okay, now let's have a look at the army performances. Cold One Dread Knights, not a lot of good targets to fight really. they're supposed to fight some elite armored cavalry, perhaps maybe say Chaos Knights, then they will be good. But against dedicated anti-large units like say Hellstriders, and they would not be doing too great. Eternal Entourage also have armor piercing and physical resistance, which the Colt 1 Dreadnoughts are definitely sucks against. Dread Spears holding back the Marauders, and also just buying time for the rest of the Dark Elf forces. Malekith himself doing great damage, and the Scourge Runners as well, always a very effective skirmishing chariot. So they did the damage while the infantry were sacrificed. Now, one of the Sisters of Slaughter got some great value from slaughtering the Marauders, but the other being hit by both the anti-infantry Marauders and also the Chaos Spawns. They just took substantial damage and just got routed very soon in the battle. They do have good armor. They do have good melee defense though, so that helped them hold a little longer than their Dread Spears brethren. Dark Riders here as a acts more as like a counter mobility, trying to catch say Hellstriders and whatnot, and also catching Chaos Furies and whatnot. But as an overall thing, they are not exactly great against Slaanesh. Now for the Slaanesh army played by its current year, there's a bunch of Hellstriders not earning back their value, not a lot of good targets to charge other than the Sisters of Slaughter charging them in the back. The Cool 1 Dreadknights does have one good thing, which is their heavy armor and decent melee stats. So the Eternal Entourage and the Hellstriders were not able to get too much value fighting them, while the Chaos Furies not getting a lot of good engagements since there's a lack of missile infantry. One of them tried to charge the Scourge Runners, but they were not able. They were not able to hold for too long. Same goes for the other one who tried to catch some of the Dreadknights, as they just died before the Hellstriders were able to reinforce the engagement. The Votive Marauders, as always, very cost efficient with their physical resistance and immune to psychology, but still unable to carry the game. Azazel and Malekith have a same level of damage output overall, but Azazel having less HP was not able to hold as long in combat, especially when being drained by Soul Stealer. Anyways, that's a pretty good game between the Dark Elves and Slaanesh, showcasing a lot of nice maneuvers, and especially the duel between the Malekith and Azazel. That was quite close. Malekith was almost done for, but that one Soul Stealer saved his ass. Okay, anyways, second battle. This is between the High Elves once again, and this time Tzeentch, a very meta faction overall. But interesting enough, this Tzeentch army is not using the Chaos Sorcerer Lord or any Keepers or any Lord of Change. Instead, it is one of the Demon Princes, if I remember correctly. Let's just stop and this is a High Elf. Let's see. Yeah, this is a Demon Prince of Tzeentch, interesting enough. Bringing his staff. Pretty damn sick armor, to be fair. And yeah. Okay, so, army built. I forgot my name, which spawn are best. Probably Tzeentch spawn, in my opinion. Just because shield is nice. Like the physical resistance is decent on a spawn, but the immune to psychology from the Mark of Slaanesh is wasted on the spawn. And then if you go in with a spawn, you're trying to go for a straight up frontal charge. Usually they don't have enough speed as other cavalry to do flanking charges, so the devastating flanker trait is also kind of wasted. But Tzeentch shield is just nice to mitigate the damage on the spawns who are rather glass cannon in general. And and also they have armor sundering, which basically fixed the problem of their problem of not enough damage against heavy armored targets. Anyways, army builds. High elf once again, and this time Imrik, my boy. Unfortunately, he's not on foot but on a dragon, and this is actually a great lord choice because they have a lot of fire resistance at 40, and I think missile resistance applies as well when it comes to magic missiles. So things like these, blue fire of Tinge, yeah, most of their damage is getting ignored. So you can't really use the blue fire spam to snipe out Imrik efficiently. Of course, you can still snipe out a Lord of Life caster, but being on foot, she's not that fragile to this kind of missile spell. The first few projectiles knocks her over and the rest just passes through, not doing damage whatsoever. Anyways, army builds. The rest of army builds other than Imrik, who has Lord of Dragons. Yep, Lord of Dragons and Dragon Horn. Dragon Horn, I really love that. Love this item, just great for high elves in general. Even better if you're not using Silverin Guard but using White Lions. But Silverin Guard definitely a solid pick here with their armor to mitigate the Tinge missiles and also their spell resistance to tank out damage from the spell resistance to tank out damage from all those Tinge magic. At the back here, a whole bunch of Loven Sea God, also a great use against Tinge, since their missiles would be absolutely great to shoot down spawns and horrors, just trading great efficiently, while the Silverin Guard will be screening away for them and just tanking damage from the blue horror and pink horror missiles. At the back, one single spears in case they need some emergency reserve infantry, and a single dragon prince hiding in the forest. Heavy armor cavalry is definitely an answer to the Tinge army, even if they bring halberd really. Now, for the army of Tinge, Chaos Furies in the skies on the flank and a bunch of Screamers of Tinge for the anti-large armor piercing with magic attacks. The entire Tinge army does have magic attacks, so the physical resistance on the Dragon Princes will be quite useless in this matchup. And what else? Yeah. And then we have the... we forgot about the caster on the High Elf side, Regrowth and Earthblood. Now for the rest of the Tinge army. Frontline, Marauders of Tinge, more Marauders of Tinge, most of them with spears, one of them with regular weapons. Probably the lack of funds forced them to go for a regular variant. At the back, a couple spawns of Tinge here. Their armor sundering definitely would be great against the Silverin Guard. Combined with the Warp Flyer effect from some of the spells and whatnot, the Tinge army should be able to debuff the Silverin Guard by the Silverin Guard armor by a great amount. And yeah, blue horse at the back, just gonna shoot up any high elf target. Not the greatest missile infantry, but they will suffice. And in the skies, the Demon Prince of Tinge bring the staple blue fire spam, Wands of Change for extra power recharge and lowering miscast chance, and also Demonic Onslaught for a little bit of a damage boost. Interesting enough, Plague of Rust is also present, possibly to debuff armor on enemy targets, allowing the blue horrors to do the damage, but with their flaming damage, they would not be doing much damage to either Imrik or the Dragon Princes, because they all have at least 40% of fire resistance. And on top of that, missile resistance on Imrik. So perhaps they can try debuffing the Dragon Princes and shoot them with blue horrors, but then again, you still have 40% of damage negated. Anyways, let's get the battle started. As both armies are trying to maneuver, the High Elf army does have a high ground advantage here. If the Tinge army tries to push up, then they will receive a frontal charge from uphill and also an uphill position of firepower, which grants them extra missile damage if I remember correctly. So they need to approach this engagement with care, but either ways, there will be some Book of Hoeth here buffing up the spell power recharge, and also Imrik pushing up. He's not afraid of any kind of Tinge missile really. The spell doesn't do much damage since it is fire damage, and then of course the blue horse doesn't do shit to him as well due to his heavy armor, and then on top of that mitigation of 65% of blue fire damage. Now armor comes in, the armor debuff on the Plague of Rust comes in and the Demon Prince of Change tries to fight him. But honestly, I feel like the friendly fire would do more damage to Imrik than, say, the Change missile in general. There's also even the Screamers surrounding him, but yeah, he's not taking much damage other than from his own troops, really. Now in the front line, spawns of Change charging straight for the Silvern Guard with the support of Marauders. They'll be sundering the armor of the Silvern Guard and allowing the Marauders to fight a little bit more efficiently, but they themselves are getting shot to pieces by all these Lofen Sea God. And in the skies, Imrik might be taking damage, but he is also dishing out massive damage in return with the Dragon Horn active, and the Demon Prince of Change might be finding himself chilling a bit more, biting a bit more than he can chew. While the spears will be, reserve spears actually push up ahead. Anyways, Blue Horus got into range of the Lofen Sea God now, focusing fire at these guys. Spears, actually, there are multiple spears. I missed out. Anyways, the Lofen Sea God will be taking substantial damage, but the Blue Horus are already running low on ammo. They need to find something else to fight the Lofen Sea God, but there's not a lot of good options here. Spawn of Change is almost done for thanks to all that firepower from the Lofen Sea God, and the Marauders are not able to beat back the Silvern Guard fast enough. In the forest, same goes for the other Lofen spawn of Change, as they are now dragged down by all that Lofen Sea God and whatnot. Their armor is sundered and allowing the Marauders of Change to do a little bit more damage, but things are going rough as Imrik is now almost back to full health thanks to the regrowth. Yes, his hit points are his hit points are dropping low once again thanks to the Demon Prince attacks, but things are still pretty damn rough. Yes, the Screamers doesn't really need that Plague of Rust debuff really, since they do have great armor piercing and anti-large, but the bigger problem is more of the Demon Prince hit points are running low and nothing can really stop the Dragon Princess at this point. The Demon Prince of Change, he's not a bad fighter overall, I think, but being so close to Lofen Sea God and being hit by point blank fire and now even chased down by Imrik himself, being hit by Lord of Dragons, his melee stats got debuffed down to Oblivion. He is not going to hold around for too long, and the Silvern Guard is still holding on in the front line. Lofen Sea God taking some damage from more of these Blue Horrors, but no big deal. They will hold, while the Change Demon Prince just gets annihilated by Imrik's Dragon. So in the end, a staunch line of spears held back the onslaught of a whole bunch of Change Marauders. All those Lofen Sea God, some of them took damage from the Blue Horrors, but not substantial enough to turn around the battle, as the Demon Prince was not able to do much damage against Imrik, the Dragon Lord. So let us have a look at the army performances. Mage of Life just there for the healing, so not much can be said. Silvern Guard, amazing value, 1,265 gold, probably fighting Marauders and the spawns at the same time. Their anti-large would be very cost efficient. And let's see, what else? Silvern Guard at 800 gold, getting more 800 gold, and getting 1,000 gold. It seems like the Change army just have a hard time breaking through their melee defense and heavy armor. Spears, not a lot of work done by them because they're not being threatened. Silvern Guard alone can hold the line, while the Storm Riders and the rest of the Lofen Sea God, some of them got some decent value, but a bunch of them did not, probably getting shot up by the Blue Horrors. But Imrik still getting solid value, while the Dragon Princess just not seeing much action in general, as the Change army just can't break through the high elf defenses. While the Change army here, these Screamers of Change got a surround on Imrik, combined with the Demon Prince got some okay damage dealt, but nothing too amazing. Chaos Furies, not a lot of good targets. They can drop in and fight Lofen Sea God, but all they can do is just silence them, and they do not have enough melee stats to quickly rout them off. While the Chaos Spawns, unfortunately, very, very poor damage. while the Marauders of Tinge simply do not have the melee stat or weapon damage to punch through the defenses of the Sylvan Guards. The Loven Seaguard took some damage from the Blue Horrors, but overall, Blue Horrors just don't do well in this matchup with all that arrow fire presence on the high elf roster. And yeah, that's it for today's replay casting. I don't have a lot of replays, just only the replay between me and... yeah, just basically only the replay I showcased to everyone. Let's see, yeah. There are definitely more replays happening in the tournament, but yeah, it's a pity that I can't showcase them, but, well, that's what happens when you can't, when you're not in the... you don't have enough energy to run a live streaming tournament. You can't really catch everything, and will require a lot of more organizing to retrieve and collect all those replays, which is not exactly convenient to do, unfortunately. But yeah, that's it for today's replays. I hope everyone has a good time watching the fight and all that, and hope everyone has a nice weekend, or is having a nice weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. I'll be traveling in the next 3 days or so, but still I have some videos recorded, so it should be fine, and we'll have a pretty steady upload schedule. Hopefully we have enough participants for our tournament on Friday, on the 23rd of December, right before Christmas. I don't expect a lot of turnout, but hope there will be more people be there trying to fight for that £10 Steam gift card and free Ogre key. And yeah, that's it for today's battle replay casting. Unfortunately, I do not have the time to just cast them in videos one by one, so just going for the easier route of streaming everything live and just having everything showcased. Probably not as high quality as normally I do with the video recordings, but that's probably the only thing I can do to fit everything into schedule. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich signing out. And yeah, oh right, yeah. Cheers, Doomsage. Thanks for watching, and I forgot my name. Demon Prince should have been casting Blue Fire for sure, and avoid Imrik. But they do have to kill Imrik at some point. So Blue Fire on the live caster overall. Just snipe her out, and then the Tinge army can start sniping out Imrik and whatnot. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich signing out.